We're heading in a new direction, Evan announced, his voice crisp through the conference room speakers as 50 pairs of eyes darted between his face on the screen and mine at the table. Laura will be stepping down from her role as Senior Vice President of Sales, effective immediately. I sat perfectly still, my hands folded neatly over the leather portfolio I'd carried to every major client meeting for the past 12 years. My team stared at me, confusion and alarm spreading across their faces. A few mouths hung open in stunned silence. Jenna Coleman will be stepping into a strategic leadership role, Evan continued, gesturing to the young blonde woman sitting beside him, who offered a bright, Instagram-ready smile to the camera. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Jenna, the woman who'd been hanging on Evan's arm at company functions for the past month. The former lifestyle influencer with zero sales experience. The new girlfriend. My name is Laura Pickens, and at 54 years old, I'd built the entire sales department at Trellis Systems from nothing. When I joined over a decade ago, we were a struggling tech outfit with a decent product and abysmal market penetration. I spent my nights writing scripts, creating training manuals, and cold calling prospects while my contemporaries were planning for retirement. By year 5, I'd turned us into a national player. By year 10, we were landing multi-million-dollar accounts, almost all through personal client relationships I'd cultivated with painstaking care. I looked around the room at my team, the people I'd hired, trained, and mentored, the backbone of a company that now generated over $25 million annually. Their faces reflected back the same thought. This made no sense. Laura has been instrumental in building our sales infrastructure, Evan added, almost as an afterthought. And we thank her for her service. Service. Like I was being honorably discharged after a tour of duty. I could feel the weight of silent questions pressing down on the room. Why was this happening? Why hadn't anyone been informed? Why was the CEO's girlfriend taking over the most critical revenue-generating department in the company? But I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I didn't show a flicker of the rage burning beneath my carefully maintained composure. Instead, I smiled, gathered my reports, and stood up. I wish you all continued success, I said clearly, making eye contact with each member of my team. The reports for this quarter's projections are complete. The client contact information is updated. Everything is in order. I nodded once to Evan on the screen, where Jenna was already talking animatedly about fresh perspectives and digital-first approaches. Then I walked out, closing the door softly behind me. They had no idea what they'd just done. I'd seen the warning signs for months, ever since the board had brought in Evan Strickland as our new CEO. He was 38, with the kind of confidence that comes from never having truly failed. His previous startups had been acquired before they needed to show actual profits, and his reputation as a visionary preceded him. Within weeks, he was reshuffling the executive team, bringing in people from his previous ventures. The longtime chief technology officer was the first to go, replaced by someone Evan had worked with at his last company. Then went our chief financial officer. Each time the announcement was framed as moving in an exciting new direction. I'd survived the initial wave by delivering what I always had: results. Our sales numbers were better than ever, despite the turbulence at the top. I thought that would be enough. But I should have known better. In Evan's world, loyalty trumped performance. Personal relationships trumped professional competence. As I cleared out my office, methodically placing 12 years of accomplishments into cardboard boxes, my assistant Valerie hovered in the doorway, her eyes red-rimmed. "This is insane," she said quietly. "Everyone knows it." I carefully wrapped a crystal award, top sales performance North America region 3 years ago, in newspaper. "It's business," I replied evenly. "Nothing personal." "It's completely personal," Valerie argued. "She's his girlfriend. She was posting yoga poses on Instagram 2 months ago, and now she's supposed to run a $20 million sales operation." I placed the wrapped award in my box and looked up at Valerie. For 8 years, she'd been my right hand. She knew every client, every deal structure, every relationship I'd built. "What will you do?" she asked. "Take some time," I said. "Consider my options." I closed the box and sealed it with packing tape, the sound sharp in the quiet office. What about you? Valerie straightened her shoulders. I already told Human Resources I'm giving my 2 weeks' notice. I nodded, unsurprised. Loyalty ran both ways on my team. Do me a favor, I said. Before you go, make sure the contact information for Patterson Healthcare and National Building Supply gets transferred correctly. They've got renewal decisions coming up in the next 30 days. Those 2 accounts alone represented over $5 million in annual revenue. Valerie's eyes met mine, understanding dawning on her face. She nodded slowly. I'll make sure everything is accurately transferred, she said. I smiled, the first genuine one since the meeting. That's all I ask. What Evan didn't understand, what he couldn't possibly comprehend, was that my client relationships weren't attached to the company. They were attached to me. Over 12 years, I had personally cultivated trust with every major account we had, most of which were secured through one-on-one deals, favors, and late-night crisis calls. The trust wasn't with Trellis Systems, it was with Laura Pickens. 3 weeks after my unceremonious departure, I was sitting on my back deck in North Raleigh, enjoying a cup of coffee and the morning quiet, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Harold Barnes, the purchasing director of Patterson Healthcare, our biggest client. Laura, Harold's familiar voice boomed through the speaker. I've been trying to reach you through your company email, but they said you're no longer with them? That's correct, I confirmed. I recently left Trellis Systems. Left? You practically built the place. Harold sounded genuinely shocked. What happened? New leadership, new direction, I said simply. Well, that explains a lot, he sighed. We had a call with some new person yesterday, Jenna something, and frankly, it was a disaster. She couldn't answer basic questions about our implementation timeline, and she kept referring to us as Patterson Health Systems instead of Patterson Healthcare. I winced inwardly. Patterson was notoriously particular about their brand identity. Anyway, Harold continued, our contract is up for renewal next month, and I wanted to talk to you about the pricing structure before we commit to another 2 years, but now I'm not sure we want to move forward at all. I took a careful sip of coffee. I understand your concerns, Harold. You need a partner who understands your business. We need you, Laura. You've pulled our bacon out of the fire more times than I can count. Remember when our system crashed during the Medicare audit last year? You had your technical team on it within 20 minutes, on a Sunday. I remember, I said. So what are you doing now? Taking some time off? I hesitated, then made a decision. Actually, I've been considering some opportunities. There's a company called Meridian Technologies that's been persistent in their outreach. Meridian was a rising competitor to Trellis, with a similar product suite but a more innovative approach. They'd been trying to hire me for years. Harold was silent for a moment. Meridian, huh? They've pitched to us before. Solid product, but we went with Trellis because of you. I understand, I said neutrally. Would you... Harold paused. If you were to join Meridian, would you be handling the Patterson account? I imagine that would be part of the discussion, yes. Another pause. Then, interesting. Our IT director has been pushing for us to explore alternatives anyway. Maybe we should hold off on that renewal with Trellis, see how things develop. After I hung up, I sat looking at my phone for a long moment. Then I scrolled through my contacts and selected a number I'd saved but never called. Hello, this is Laura Pickens, I said when the call connected. I believe your CEO, Gregory Wilson, has expressed interest in meeting with me. I'd like to schedule that conversation now. The dam was about to break, and Evan Strickland had no idea what was coming. The offices of Meridian Technologies occupied 3 floors of a gleaming glass tower in downtown Raleigh. As I rode the elevator to the executive suite, I reflected on how different this was from my early days at Trellis, when we'd operated out of a converted warehouse with temperamental air conditioning and a coffee machine that worked only on Tuesdays. Gregory Wilson, Meridian's CEO, was waiting for me himself, a courtesy that spoke volumes after Evan's dismissive treatment. In his early 60s, Gregory had the confident bearing of someone who'd built his success brick by brick, rather than through flashy acquisitions. "Laura," he said warmly, extending his hand, "I can't tell you how pleased I am that you finally returned our calls." "Timing is everything," I replied with a small smile. His office had a wall of windows overlooking the city. As we sat down, I noted the framed photos on his desk. Family pictures, not the vanity shots of celebrities and influencers that had begun appearing in Evan's office. "I'll be direct," Gregory said. "We want you to build out our enterprise sales division. You've created something remarkable at Trellis, and we've been watching your work for years." "And what exactly would that role entail?" I asked, though I already had a good idea. "Executive Vice President of Sales and Client Relations. Full autonomy to build your team. Equity in the company. And," he leaned forward slightly, "the freedom to bring in the clients you believe would benefit from our platform." There it was, the unspoken understanding that I would bring my relationships with me. "That's a compelling offer," I acknowledged. "We're prepared to be competitive on compensation as well," Gregory added, sliding a folder across the desk. I opened it and carefully masked my reaction. The number was significantly higher than what I'd been making at Trellis, a place where I'd repeatedly been told I was at the top of the pay band for my position. "I'll need to review this in detail," I said, closing the folder. "Of course," Gregory nodded. "Take your time, but I should mention that we're particularly interested in expanding in the healthcare and construction sectors. I understand those were areas where you had some significant wins." Patterson Healthcare. National Building Supply. Together, they represented over $5 million in annual revenue for Trellis. "I had some success there," I confirmed modestly. Our conversation continued for another hour, during which Gregory outlined Meridian's vision and growth strategy. It was refreshingly substantive, focused on product development and client success rather than buzzwords and vanity metrics. As we wrapped up, Gregory walked me to the elevator. "One last thing," he said. "We've heard through the grapevine that there might be some talent becoming available from Trellis in the coming weeks. People who worked with you." I raised an eyebrow. The rumor mill works quickly. "It always does," he agreed. "If you were to join us, would you have any interest in rebuilding your team?" Valerie. Thomas from Enterprise Accounts. Daria from Client Success. My people, the ones who'd been with me through years of growth, who understood my methods and shared my client-first philosophy. "I might have some recommendations," I said carefully. The elevator doors opened, and Gregory shook my hand again. "We'll be in touch soon. I have a good feeling about this, Laura." As I rode down to the lobby, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Valerie. National Building Supply just called. They're considering their options for the next contract cycle. Jenna tried to handle the call herself. It was a disaster. I tucked my phone away, my mind already working through the possibilities. Evan had unwittingly set a cascade in motion, one that couldn't be stopped by suddenly realizing his mistake. Within a week, I had signed my contract with Meridian. "This feels like déjà vu," Valerie said, arranging family photos on her new desk at Meridian Technologies. "Except with better lighting and a coffee machine that works every day." I leaned against the doorframe of her office. A real office, not the open-plan workspace she'd had at Trellis. "How does it feel to be Director of Client Operations?" She grinned. "Like I should have followed you years ago." In the 6 weeks since I'd joined Meridian, things had moved with the kind of purposeful efficiency that had been my hallmark at Trellis. Gregory had given me the autonomy he'd promised, and I'd quickly assembled key pieces of my former team. Valerie, Thomas, Daria. Each had received substantial promotions and increases in compensation, recognition of the value that Trellis had failed to acknowledge. My phone rang, and I excused myself to take the call in my office. It was Harold from Patterson Healthcare. "Laura, we've made our decision," he said without preamble. "We're not renewing with Trellis. Their service has gone downhill since you left. And frankly, this new salesperson they assigned us seems more interested in taking selfies in our lobby than understanding our compliance requirements." I kept my voice neutral. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be," Harold chuckled. "Because we want to talk to Meridian about taking over. The deadline for our Trellis renewal is next week, and we need to have something in place." "I'd be happy to connect you with our team," I said. "No, Laura. We want to work with you directly. You know our systems, our challenges. We trust you." After we hung up, I sent a quick message to Gregory informing him that Patterson Healthcare, a $5 million annual account, was coming our way. His response was immediate. "This is why we hired you." The same scene played out repeatedly over the next month. National Building Supply, Western Financial Group, Hartman Manufacturing. One by one, Trellis's biggest clients reached out, expressing dissatisfaction with the new regime and interest in following me to Meridian. Some were more direct than others. The CEO of Western Financial didn't mince words. "Your replacement showed up to our quarterly review meeting wearing a crop top and taking notes on her phone. When our CFO asked about security protocols, she said she'd circle back and never did." By the end of the quarter, over $15 million in client contracts had either moved to Meridian or announced their intention not to renew with Trellis. It wasn't just about me. It was about the fundamental misunderstanding Evan had regarding what our clients valued. They didn't want flashy presentations and social media presence. They wanted reliability, expertise, the confidence that when problems arose, someone who understood their business would be there to solve them. I was working late one evening when Gregory stopped by my office, a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses in hand. "I thought we should celebrate," he said, setting the glasses down. "The Western Financial contract came through today. That puts us over $15 million in new business this quarter, all from former Trellis clients." As he poured the champagne, he added casually, "Have you heard what's happening over there?" "I try not to pay attention to gossip," I replied diplomatically. Gregory smiled. "Their stock is down 30%. There's talk that the board is meeting next week to discuss leadership concerns. Apparently, their first quarterly earnings call after your departure was, let's call it, eventful." I accepted the glass he offered. "Business is cyclical. Companies have ups and downs." "True," he acknowledged. "But losing 60% of your revenue in a single quarter isn't a cycle. It's a catastrophe." We clinked glasses, and I allowed myself a small smile. "To new beginnings," I said. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, its subject line bland and corporate. "Trellis Systems announces executive changes." I opened it, curious despite myself. "Trellis Systems today announced that Evan Strickland will be stepping down as Chief Executive Officer, effective immediately. The board has appointed Jerome Phillips, currently Chief Operating Officer, as interim CEO while a search for a permanent replacement is conducted." There was a quote from the board chair about returning to core business principles and refocusing on client relationships, but the message was clear. Evan was out. I forwarded the email to Gregory with a single question mark. His response came within minutes. "Sinking ship. Too little, too late." He was right. The damage had been done. In the 3 months since I'd joined Meridian, we'd not only secured contracts with Trellis's former clients, but had begun integrating them into our systems. The switching costs were significant, meaning even if Trellis suddenly got its act together, these clients were unlikely to return. My phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. "Did you see? Barkum barkum." Before I could respond, another message appeared. This one from an unknown number. "Laura, it's Evan. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, surprised by his audacity. After a moment's consideration, I typed back, "I'm in meetings all day." His response was immediate. "Please, it's important." Against my better judgment, I agreed to a coffee at a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between our offices. He was already there when I arrived. looking noticeably different from the confident CEO who had dismissed me months earlier. His designer shirt was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Thank you for meeting me," he said as I sat down. "What can I do for you, Evan?" I kept my tone professional, neither friendly nor hostile. He sighed heavily. "I made a mistake, Laura. A massive, company-destroying mistake." "Business decisions sometimes have unintended consequences," I offered neutrally. "This wasn't a business decision," he admitted, rubbing his temples. "It was ego. Jenna convinced me that the sales department needed younger energy and modern approaches. She said clients wanted to work with people who understood digital transformation." I raised an eyebrow but said nothing. "The board fired her 2 weeks ago," he continued. "After the Patterson account left, they demanded answers. She had no idea how to handle client relationships at that level. None." "And now they've fired you too," I observed. He winced. "Technically, I resigned. But yes." He leaned forward, his voice low and urgent. "Laura, I want to make you an offer. Come back to Trellis. Name your price, your title. The board would approve anything to get the clients back." For a moment, I was speechless. The audacity was almost admirable. "Evan," I said finally, "those clients aren't coming back. They've signed multi-year contracts with Meridian. Their data has been migrated. Their teams have been trained on new systems." "But you could convince them." "I wouldn't even try," I cut him off. "They're happy where they are. We've given them everything Trellis promised, but failed to deliver." He slumped back in his chair, defeat written across his face. "The company is imploding. The board is talking about selling off assets." I felt a twinge of sadness for the company I'd helped build, for the people still there who had played no role in Evan's poor decisions. But business, as I'd learned, wasn't personal. "I wish you the best," I said, standing up, "but my future is with Meridian now." As I walked away, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Gregory. "Western Financial just doubled their contract size. Board wants to fast-track your promotion to Chief Revenue Officer. Let's discuss tomorrow." I smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and thriving. 6 months after joining Meridian, I stood at the podium during our company-wide meeting, addressing over 300 employees. The quarterly results displayed on the screen behind me told a story more powerful than any words could convey. Revenue, up 64% year over year. New enterprise clients, 17, 12 former Trellis accounts. Client retention rate, 98%. Stock price, increased 42% since last quarter. "These aren't just numbers," I told the assembled team. "They're the result of a fundamental philosophy that business is built on relationships, expertise, and trust, not trends or personalities." From my position on stage, I could see my core team in the front row: Valerie, Thomas, Daria, and the others who had followed me from Trellis. Behind them were the new hires we'd brought on to handle our explosive growth, eager faces ready to learn the methodologies that had proven so successful. Today, I'm pleased to announce that Meridian has been recognized by Industry Standard magazine as the fastest-growing enterprise software company in the Southeast, I continued, pausing for the applause that erupted. "This achievement belongs to all of you." After the meeting, Gregory pulled me aside, a newspaper folded under his arm. "Have you seen this?" he asked, handing it to me. The business section headline read, "Trellis Systems acquired in fire sale, stock down 78% from peak." The article detailed how a larger competitor had purchased the struggling company for a fraction of its former valuation, with plans to absorb its technology and eliminate redundant positions. "I heard they're closing the Raleigh office entirely," Gregory said, consolidating operations at their headquarters. I handed the paper back to him. "That's unfortunate for the employees." "Not all of them," Gregory smiled. "We've received over 40 applications from Trellis staff in the past week. Seems word has gotten around about our culture and leadership." I thought about the people I'd left behind. the ones who had built Trellis alongside me but hadn't been able to leave when I did. Tell HR to prioritize those applications, I said. There are some very talented people there who deserve better. The annual technology conference in Charlotte was always a significant event in our industry. Companies showcased their latest innovations, executives networked, and partnerships were formed. This year, Meridian had the largest booth on the floor, a reflection of our new status as a market leader. I was speaking with a potential client when I noticed Evan Strickland across the hall. He wasn't representing any company. His name badge simply read Consultant. Our eyes met briefly, and he quickly looked away, moving deeper into the crowd. Later that evening at the conference dinner, I found myself seated at the same table as Jerome Phillips, Trellis's former COO who had briefly stepped in as interim CEO before the acquisition. "Laura Pickens," he said, extending his hand. "I have to say, your departure created quite the cascade effect." "Business evolution," I replied diplomatically. "Companies adapt or they don't." Jerome chuckled. "That's one way to put it. Another would be that Evan Strickland made the costliest mistake in the company's history when he replaced you with his girlfriend." I took a sip of water. "How are things post-acquisition?" "Brutal," he admitted. "Most of the executive team is gone. The acquirer kept some of the development staff, but that's about it." He leaned in slightly. "Between us, Evan's reputation is shot. He's been trying to land another CEO role for months, but no board will touch him after the Trellis implosion." I nodded but offered no comment. "And Jenna," Jerome continued, shaking his head, "last I heard, she's back to posting lifestyle content on social media. Her brief foray into corporate leadership didn't make it onto her profile." As dinner concluded, Jerome handed me his card. "If you ever have openings at Meridian, I'd love to talk. Some of us learned the hard way what happens when you discard the wrong person." I tucked his card into my jacket pocket. I'll keep that in mind. Looking around the elegant ballroom filled with industry leaders now eager to partner with Meridian, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. My greatest professional success had come not from climbing the corporate ladder,